Hello and welcome. Tonight, Amnesty International alleges that nothing less than 10,000 persons have died in the custody of the Nigerian Army Force since Boko Haram conflict began in the northeast. Defense headquarters describes allegation as spurious. Founder of Abwad, Areafe Babalola, challenges detained human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi to prove allegations leveled against him in his book, Nigeria and its Criminal Justice System. Federal government launches Nigeria's economic report for year 2024, says various reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu has put the nation on a path of growth. And tens of thousands of people are fleeing Syria's third largest city, Homs, in fear that Islamic-led rebels will continue to advance towards the capital, Damascus.
In On Business News tonight, Economic Intelligence Unit forecasts Nigeria's business environment to remain challenging for the next 5 years amid high inflation, overstretched fiscal position, and collapse in the U.S. dollar's market size.
On Sports News tonight, Argentina football star Lionel Messi has been named the 2024 Major League Soccer Most Valuable Player after leading Inter Miami to a record-breaking regular season campaign.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, Nigeria Immigration Service stops 12 persons of interest from entering Nigeria using the newly installed electronic gates at the nation's international airports.
Amnesty International has alleged that at least 10,000 persons have died in the custody of the Nigerian army since the Boko Haram conflict began in the northeast. The organization's country director, Issa Sanusi, who disclosed this at a briefing in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, also accused Boko Haram and the military of many abuses. According to him, military personnel violated rules of engagement while carrying out their assignments in that region. He regretted how the military denied the involvement of its personnel in the atrocity after being served with Amnesty's report before it was made public. Mr. Sanusi also adds that the human rights body has already filed a case before the International Court of Justice at The Hague over alleged crimes against humanity in the northeast. Meanwhile, the defense headquarters has refuted the claims by Amnesty International describing the allegation as spurious. Director Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says the armed forces views the pronouncement by Amnesty International as shocking, lacking in merit, as well as mischievous also, as it is coming in the end of a cycle stage of the counter-terrorism war in the northeastern region. According to General Buba, the Nigerian military is a professional force which conducts its operation within the dictates of international humanitarian law and the laws of the armed conflicts. He adds that though the operational environment has been complex and challenging, troops have painstakingly abided by the rules of engagement to extensively avoid civilian casualties in whatever shape or form. And whenever arrests are made, suspects are profiled, after which the suspects are handed over to the appropriate agencies for release or for prosecution. And still on matters of human rights, the National Human Rights Commission is demanding for justice and accountability for civilian victims who were allegedly killed by the Nigerian army in Abisari community in Borno State. A member of the governing council of the commission, Kemi Okonyedo, made the demand at the presentation of the report from the investigative panel on human rights violations in the counterinsurgency operations in the northeast to the army. The report had vindicated the military of forced systemic abortions administered on women, but indicted them of intentionally killing civilians in a Basari community.
The killing of civilians in Abisari remains a grave violation that demands justice, accountability, and immediate action. These are not abstract issues. They are real. The lives affected are real. Families impacted exist. Communities impacted are still suffering and must be acknowledged, and it must be addressed. The recommendations of the panel provide a roadmap for addressing these violations, holding perpetrators accountable, and ensuring that similar violations do not occur in the future. Among the panel's key recommendations are compensation for the victims of the Abisari killings, with the federal government ensuring that the families and communities affected are provided adequate reparations.
3 days after his arraignment and remand of a 16-count charge, the Nigerian police force has filed a fresh cybercrime charge against human rights activist and lawyer Dele Farotimi following the allegation of criminal defamation leveled against him by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola. The fresh 12-count charge was filed before the Federal High Court in Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State. The police had initially charged Mr. Farotimi with 16 counts of criminal defamation before a chief magistrate court in Ado-Ekiti. At his arraignment on December the 3rd, Mr. Farotimi pleaded not guilty to the counts. Chief Magistrate Abayomi Adeosun ordered that he be remanded in the Ado-Ekiti Correctional Center pending the filing of a formal bail application. He adjourned the case to Tuesday, December the 10th, to hear the bail application. The new charge largely focused on Mr. Farotimi's comments on online interviews, where he reiterated allegations made in his book, whereas the case before the Chief Magistrate's Court centered on excerpts from that same book. It is, however, unclear if the police will eventually drop the case at the Magistrate Court in favor of this new charge. Meanwhile, the founder of the Afe Babalola University at Ado-Ekiti, Are Afe Babalola, is challenging Mr. Dele Farotimi to prove the allegations made against him in his book. Addressing journalists in Ado-Ekiti, the Ado-Ekiti state capital, the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, while speaking through the head of his legal team, Owosheni Ajayi, asks Nigerians to seek the truth at all times.
In view of the above, I humbly request that that is to the Commission of Police, use your good office to invite Mr. Dele Farotimi to show proof of the truthfulness of his publication, failure of which he should be prosecuted for criminal defamation in accordance with the requirements of the extant laws of Nigeria. Confiscate all defamatory publications until the investigations are completed. Stop Mr. Dele Farotimi by himself and or his agents from further publishing any defamatory content to attack my hard-earned reputation, the reputation of my law firm and that of my lawyers and of the Nigerian judiciary. Is it wrong? We ask, is it wrong for Are Afe Babalola to seek justice for these false utterances against him? Should justice only be available to Mr. Dele Farotimi because Are Afe Babalola is a global icon? He's a big man, has no right to defend himself against the destruction of his image we have struggled to build up? These are the questions we're asking people who never care to know the truth and the background to the trial and the arrest of Dele Farotimi. When Mr. Dele Farotimi can show proof that his assertions in the book are true, then he will be free. Until then, the law allows free speech, but not only that, but not one that is calculated to injure the good reputation of another.
The federal government is projecting that the domestic outlook for Nigeria in the year 2025 will be shaped by opportunities for resilience and growth amid evolving global and local dynamics. And this is contained in a report on the 2024 Economic Review launched at a one-day technical workshop held at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja. In this report, the government insists the various economic reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu's administration has put the country on a path of growth. Our State House correspondent Empress Simon reports.
Call it stock taking and you won't be wrong as the federal government reviews the nation's economy for 2024 under the administration of President Bola Tinubu and giving a projection into 2025. The Vice President, represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, sets the tone for the meeting.
Being interactive in concept, I encourage participants to get involved so that we can get the benefit of the diverse perspectives on the range of issues to be discussed and extract maximum benefit from the very rich crop of guests in attendance.
The discussion begins with some ministers giving a scorecard of their ministries.
We are looking at gas as critical in the development of our economy of this nation. And we are trying as much as possible to make sure we drive the economy of this nation with gas because we have it in abundance.
We have projected or committed to about expanding the GDP by 2030, $100 billion. And I think we'll be able to do that. We've been able to start putting the structures in place.
Beginning with the removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of the foreign exchange rates, as well as the proposal for tax reforms, the administration of President Bola Tinubu has come under criticisms among some citizens. However, this meeting provides insight into the benefit of the president's policies.
The reform of removing the subsidy may have led somehow to the increase in the price of fuel. But if you look at the other side, now we're talking Dangote, now we're talking Port Harcourt refinery. All of these things have linkages. And with those two developments, including many modular refineries that are also working, the story of Nigeria is changing from a country that imports all of its refined products to a country that processes locally and also exports to a few countries around.
The government also calls for understanding by stakeholders on the tax reform bills before the National Assembly, promising to create 400,000 jobs in 2025 and empower small businesses.
We urge all our stakeholders and indeed all Nigerians and friends of Nigeria to support these reforms, engage constructively, and collaborate to refine their implementation.
Mr. President graciously increased the obligo from 1 million naira straight to 5 million naira. So it now means that the MSMEs can collect up to 5 million naira per SMEs at single digit of 9%, same 3 years.
The discussion is backed by the launch of the economic report for 2024 with a roadmap for 2025. The report shows the services sector contributed 53.58% to the total GDP, followed by agriculture and industries, which contributed 28.65% and 17.77%. Nigeria's crude oil exports as at the second quarter of the year was valued at over 14.5 billion naira, representing 74.98% of total exports, while non-crude oil exports amounted to over 4.8 billion naira, of which non-oil products contributed over 1.9 billion naira of total exports. In the same period, total gross revenue reached 2.48 trillion naira. The federal government says it plans to tighten monetary policies, improve agricultural productivity, and enhance exchange rate stability as measures to control inflation. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, we focus on the ongoing second season of Channels Television social impact entrepreneurship reality show, Fund It Forward. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Amnesty International alleges that nothing less than 10,000 persons have died in the custody of the Nigerian army since the Boko Haram conflict began in the northeast. Defense headquarters describes allegations as spurious. Founder of Upward, Are Afebabalola, challenges detained human rights lawyer Dele Farotimi to prove allegations leveled against him in his book. Federal government launches Nigeria's economic report for the year 2024, says various reforms introduced by President Bola Tinubu has put the nation on the path of growth. And tens of thousands of people flee Syria's third largest city, Homs, in fear that Islamic-led rebels will continue to advance towards the capital, Damascus. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, has acknowledged that Nigeria remains in a state of financial and economic crisis, a situation inherited by the current administration of the Apex Bank. Speaking at the 14th Annual Bankers Committee retreat in Abuja, Mr. Cardoso explains the role of the Bankers Committee remains critical towards addressing the nation's economic challenges, as well as relating the economy and reflating it. The CBN boss calls on members of the committee to reflect on the past year's challenges and devise actionable tools to address them effectively.
Plenary discussions.
Members of the Bankers Committee are converging on this hall to deliberate on issues that affect the economy at its 14th annual retreat. The meeting is themed Contract and Commitments to National Development and Economic Growth. In his speech, the governor of the central bank notes that the country is in a state of financial crisis inherited by the Apex Bank.
Our nation continues to be in a state of financial crisis. And indeed, a year ago, that was the basis in which the administration of the central bank inherited for the economic challenges of our nation, a state of economic crisis.
However, he wants the Bankers Committee to intervene as the government works to improve the economy.
The road ahead remains long. The work before us requires focus, innovation, and unwavering resolve to reshape our collective future.
The special advisor to the president on economic affairs, Mr. Tokwe Faswa, believes the country's debt to GDP will drop to about 30% by the first quarter of 2025 as the federal government plans to rebase the economy. He also urged the committee to urgently resolve issues of cash scarcity and arbitrary charges by point-of-sale operators.
Given the stage where the Nigerian economy is today, the job of our banks are clearly cut out. And they say the reward for hard work is more work. Our banks must consolidate their role as catalysts for economic growth and development. The development of banks should positively correlate with the development of the economy at large. And the robust profitability that we have seen in that sector should reflect, at least marginally, in the GDP growth numbers posted by the country at large.
For the next 3 days, these finance experts will be deliberating on how to bring innovation and ideas that will assist in the nation's economic growth.
We're now being joined on the news at 10 by the Chief Executive Officer of Center for Promotion of Public Enterprises, Dr. Muda Yusuf, to look at the state of the economy, of course, starting with the launch of that economic report we told you earlier. Thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
At 10. I mean, the summary of that report presented by the federal government today basically shows or indicates that reforms introduced by the current administration has put the nation on the path of growth. Those are their words. Do you believe this?
Yes, I believe that to a large extent, because in the last 4 to 5 months, for instance, we have seen some reasonable level of stability in our foreign exchange market, particularly the exchange rate. And interestingly, today, the official exchange rate fell to 1,535 naira to the dollar. We haven't seen that in a fairly long time. And foreign exchange is at the heart of most of the challenges that we are facing. I know that the CBN has been grappling with a whole lot of issues over the last 1 year, clearing backlog, paying debts, and all of that. But it seems that we are beginning to stabilize around the foreign exchange environment. And that has a whole lot of implications for businesses, for the cost of living and all of that. But challenges remain, obviously. Because for most Nigerians and for businesses, what we like to see are enduring impacts, first on the cost of living and the cost of doing business. So these things are very critical. But I must admit that we have seen some positive traction around Forex. We have seen some positive developments around government revenue. We have seen some positive developments around non-oil exports. I mean, in those areas, we have seen some improvements. But there's still a whole lot to do particularly with regard to issue of inflation, cost of living, the welfare of the citizens, and the cost of doing business. So these are challenges that remain. And until we begin to take steps that impact on all of this, not many will appreciate, whatever progress has been made in terms of this economic report.
Now, Dr. Yusuf, when we look deeper into that report, the federal government is projecting that the domestic outlook for Nigeria for the year 2025 is just a few days away, will be shaped by opportunities of resilience and growth. Should Nigerians be rejoicing at this time or have any reason to be optimistic about the economy for next year?
No, I think we can be cautiously optimistic. Let me put it that way. Because we need to see a lot more. We have seen what is happening in the monetary policy space. We have seen a lot of inflows, for instance, through the IMTOs, international money transfers. We have seen improved liquidity in the foreign exchange market as against what we used to have. We have seen the foreign reserves, it has gone up to 40 billion US. Right? All of these things have a way of, improving on the confidence. But again, there's the issue of sustainability of this. Because these are fundamental macroeconomic issues. Unless you sustain them, you cannot be sure that things will get better. So sustainability is key. And to sustain all of this, we need a lot more action on the fiscal side, the fiscal operations. We need to see a reduction in deficits. We need to see a moderation in the growth of debt. We need to see a reduction in debt service commitment. We need to manage our fiscal space properly so that whatever we are achieving on the monetary policy front will be sustainable. We also want to see a reduction in interest rates. Interest rate at over 30% is not sustainable for practically all sectors of the economy. We are talking about tax reforms. There are also issues about the levies being imposed by regulatory authorities. We haven't addressed that. That has not come within the framework of the tax reform that we are talking about. A lot of sectors are complaining about the heavy amount of levies and things that they are paying to their regulators.
So which brings us to the foreign exchange. I mean, over a year ago, the Economic Intelligence Unit, if you recall, rightly predicted that the naira to the dollar will be over 1,000, which has been actualized at the moment. This time, the London-based business and market insight firm also has projected and continued the challenges, especially in business, as you said, the business environment for the country over the next 5 years. What do you think that environment will be looking when we look at it from this moment now?
From this moment, I think the outlook is a lot more positive. It's a lot more positive. Particularly, I keep emphasizing, if you manage the fiscal space very well. Because we are now, we have a proposal now before the National Assembly under the MTEF that the next budget will be about 48 trillion naira. That is huge. So we need to worry about the risk of deficit, about the risk of growth in money supply, which can dislocate some of these achievements. So if we're able to balance this, and that is why we keep stressing this balance of coordination between the fiscal and monetary policies. If we're able to commit to that, I think we'll be getting somewhere. And more importantly, we need to target deliberately the issue of the cost of living, the welfare of the citizens, basic things, food, education, and all of that. Those things are very, very critical as we move forward, because that is the only thing that the citizens and businesses will really appreciate. Yeah.
Very true. We look forward to better 2025. Thank you very much, Chief Executive Officer of Center for Promotion of Public Enterprise, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Thanks for your time.
Private enterprise.
On the news at 10, private enterprise. Thank you. Yeah. Let's turn our attention now to the ongoing second season of Channels Television's social impact entrepreneurship reality show, Funded Forward, where change agents are now competing for 55 million naira prize money. In the next episode scheduled for this Sunday, some agents closed big deals, including one worth over 100 million naira. Well, this report goes behind the director's camera to preview that episode.
It's week 4 of Channels TV's competitive social entrepreneurship reality show, Funded Forward, Season 2. And the agents have transitioned from pitching their sustainable businesses to driving for results in the real world. The ideas have been incubated and energized through the show's masterclasses and trainings. So the show part is over, and these agents are experiencing real-life sink or swim moments. This next episode, scheduled for Sunday, December 8th, will capture a special moment for one of the agents, Chioma Okpabi, who is the co-founder of Sook Technologies, a platform that is helping to reshape skills acquisition and vocational landscape in Nigeria.
Okay, I believe in what you guys are doing because I watch the testimonials, I follow you guys up, and we will be making an initial payment by tomorrow.
She has closed a deal worth over 100 million naira. She describes the moment as filled with mixed emotions.
Like it was, I don't know, you know that moment when you're just feeling surprised, shocked, tensed at the same time. That was how I felt at that moment.
While it was her original idea, she acknowledged the glaring impact of the funded forward mentorship and masterclasses.
Every single facilitator that has actually come to give us a masterclass, presentation has come with something very valuable. Right. Now, I would not say it was just the facilitator that spoke to us about partnership, sponsorship, and investment, but I would say every single facilitator from supply side, enterprise story, because if we didn't have facilitators that told us about enterprise story, I don't think I would have had the right word to be able to, speak to that, partner to come in, right?
She's not the only one with a big ace up her sleeve this week. 24-year-old Israel Kende has his own winnings to count as well. In partnership with the Nigerian University, his Luck Book Limited has secured over $250,000 plus other wins to scale his e-reading platform.
Screen grabbing and
he's also much closer to actualizing a trailblazing social impact of creating the world's first battery and glare-free e-reading device.
Yeah, so that's just one of the many ones that we've gotten, and that's just locally, right? Even globally, I can tell you that we are so much more closer to our vision than ever, because it's all looking like it's just going to, happen, right? Like it's no more a mirage, right? We've gotten several deals, right? And one of it has come from Autodesk, which is a multinational company that handles engineering, and they produce some of the best industry software, I think CAD and a lot of others. And so, because we have a working partnership to produce an e-reader hardware for customers, right? So that schools can put in their libraries and students can have, right? So the software is very expensive because it comes with a lot of features, right? We've gotten that software, which it's called the Nastran software anyway. So it's cost normally hundreds of thousands of dollars, but because of the exposure that we've gotten through this program and the fact that we've been able to collaborate with certain research institutions also locally, right? We are able to get that software, right, for free, actually.
12 agents have walked into the show with beautiful business ideas, some with foundation works already done. And in these past 4 weeks, they've grown visibly, and one person has witnessed the growth firsthand.
I see them totally different. From the first week, you see the growth, you can almost see it, like just almost touch it. From the first week to the second week, down to just the different weeks, just watching them grow and become more mature in person and of course with their ideas as well.
This season has a cumulative 55 million naira prize money for grabs across the top 3 spots. But it feels like the biggest win for these agents is the opportunities to subject their startups to real-life stress tests under the watchful eyes of top consultants and judges. The full episode 4 of Funded Forward Season 2 will air this Sunday, Channels Television.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Economic Intelligence Unit forecasts Nigeria's business environment to remain challenging for the next 5 years. And that's in business news. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We continue the news at 10 as we head over to our Abuja studios where Gloria Mezoke is standing by. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. We begin with the federal government confirming the arrest of at least 12 persons of international security interest in the last 14 days using the newly installed electronic gates at the international airports across the country. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Otunji-Ojo, made the revelation at the unveiling of the Nigeria Immigration Service Career Progression and Training Framework and Gender Policy at the service headquarters in Abuja. The minister describes the facility as a long-term solution to some of the issues at the country's points of entry.
last couple of days, yesterday I got a report of persons of interest, that were nabbed by virtue of technology that was deployed. I think about 12 or thereabouts, 12, about 14 in the last couple of days. That were nabbed. These people, weeks ago, they would have just entered quietly into Nigeria without us knowing. But today, because we have an advanced passenger information, because we don't do pre-profiling before people come, we can view people's antecedents, we can view their history, we can view their record, and know who is a person of interest or not. This is the job of Emir. Yesterday, we had just about within the space of 2 days, we had about 6 people and these were people flagged internationally. These guys would have just come in months ago or weeks ago. But in the new NIS, it's business unusual. The new NIS is not about doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. The new NIS is about a service that is ready to compete with the best service in the world. And we are not just here to compete, we're here to surpass. We're not just here to surpass, we're here to defend the integrity of Nigeria.
The Kano state government has expressed dismay and deep concern over the blockade of the Koforokodo Palace of the Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, by heavily armed security operatives. The security operatives prevented the Emir from leaving his palace earlier today to attend a royal ceremony in Bichi local government area of the state. The event was to feature the presentation of a staff of office to a new district head of Bichi. Movement around the palace was also restricted, leaving attendees and organizers stranded. The Kano State Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, Baba Halilu Dantiye, said the government condemns any action that disrupts the peace or undermines the dignity of traditional institutions. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has reiterated his total commitment to the infrastructure, development and expansion of the nation's capital, assuring that all relevant sectors that will make Abuja a world-class capital city will be touched. Mr. Wike, who made this assertion at the official flag-off ceremony of the design, construction and furnishing of the office annex for the body of benches in Abuja, thanked President Bola Tinubu for his unwavering support since his appointment as minister. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, reports.
The FCT minister arrives for the flag-off ceremony for the design, construction and furnishing of the office complex for the body of benches. The chairman of the body of benchers appreciates the gesture, stating that the infrastructure of the complex is overstretched.
A fire service facility within this, our expanse of land. So much has been spent, and none of them, by the grace of God, will be consumed by fire. But prevention, they say, sir, is better than cure. So we request, sir, that you consider as an annexure or an addendum or an addition, a fire service center.
A former Minister of Justice appreciated the efforts of the FCT minister towards the legal profession.
It is men and women like you who give the nation hope. We have hope. Sometimes I hear people disparage the nation, but this is a great nation. We have hope. You give us hope. May God bless you.
For the FCT minister, the projects, like other infrastructure efforts, will not be abandoned.
Mr. President took this project to the National Assembly and he assented to it November 8, 2023, after the National Assembly has passed the supplementary budget. So this project is provided in the supplementary budget of the FCT 2023 as assented to by Mr. President November 8, 2023. So it is obvious that there's nothing hidden. But for the procurement process, by now we should have been talking about the roofing of this project. But of course, takes you for procurement process is being completed. But I can assure you that this is not one of those public projects where you say that you have started and the project is being abandoned. No, this project must be completed in 10 months' time.
The minister and other dignitaries then proceed to the foundation laying ceremony for the complex. Dele Omoyeni for Channels Television News.
And over now to Rivers State, where the state governor, Mr. Siminalayi Fubara, has expressed his administration's commitment to prioritize projects that directly impact on the lives of the people of the state. Speaking at the commissioning of a remodeled government girls' secondary school in Ahauda local government, Governor Fubara noted that every project undertaken by his administration is carefully chosen for its potential to add tangible value to the community it serves.
So much
Ahauda town is agog with celebration as Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State arrives to commission the remodeled government girls' secondary school in Ahauda East local government area. Previously run by missionaries, the school was taken over by the Rivers State government about 40 years ago and had been dilapidated for a long time. Within the first 3 months of his administration, Governor Fubara awarded the contract for its remodeling as part of his commitment to developing not just education, but the girl child.
We are not just inaugurating a physical structure, we are empowering the future leaders of our great state. We are providing a conducive learning environment that will nurture the minds of our young girls, equipping them with the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to succeed in an increasingly complex world.
The Chief of Staff, Government House, a native of the area, reiterates the declarations by the local government chairman and traditional rulers endorsing Governor Fubara for a second term in 2027.
His Excellency, Sir Siminalayi Fubara.
Governor Fubara expresses pride in commissioning a project aimed at empowering future leaders, emphasizing his administration's commitment to education. He also addresses the ongoing political challenges in the state.
The project we are commissioning has significance, and that is what we should be talking about. We will not celebrate things that will not make meaning. That is why we're here today to inaugurate this school, special school for people that are going to be mothers to this great nation. People that will be wives to great men. And if you don't produce a quality girl child, it means the nation is gone. So Ezekwe and other traditional rulers here who have suffered in the course of supporting us, your request for recognition of others too will be granted.
The project is commissioned and inspected by the governor, his deputy, speaker of the pro-government lawmakers, and other dignitaries. With his mantra, People First, Governor Fubara promises to sustain the momentum of development across the state as he prepares for an additional inauguration and flag-off of 12 projects in the days ahead.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. For more on the news at 10, it's back to Anne in Lagos.
Thank you, Gloria. Right here in Lagos, one of Nigeria's leading producers of food, feed and fiber, Olam Agri, is strengthening Nigeria's economy through investments in skill development and women empowerment. The company celebrated the graduation of 140 women from its Crown Flower Angels Baking Academy in Abuja, bringing the total number of graduates to 700 since this initiative began in 2021.
140 graduates of the Crown Flower Angels are ready to contribute their quota to national development. The graduation comes after months of hands-on training on cake and pastry making. The initiative, which started in 2021, is now an annual event and has produced over 700 women across centers in Lagos, Kano, and Abuja. The management of Olam Agri Nigeria explains that the gesture is part of efforts to boost job creation and support the nation's socio-economic development.
We are not going to rest on our oars yet. Of course, in the coming months and years, we shall be scaling our investment and training input in the Crown Flower Angels project to ensure that more women are trained to become economically viable especially through the baking skill acquisition scheme.
There are words of support from the Director General of the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency, which promised to facilitate credits for all the graduates of the program.
If we make available, let's say 250,000 naira for all of you in terms of loans, will you pay back? Okay. So we work with the management of Crown Flower to see how we can provide loans for you to go and start your business.
And that is not all. There was more commitment from government officials.
So I'm here today to salute Crown Flower Mills Angels, who have been collaborating very well with NABTEC. So whatever model you can do very well, we partner with you to see that you're properly trained, and then we certify you, we assess you. When we assess you, we say, yes, that you can do this very well.
Some of the participants of the Crown Flower Angels Empowerment Initiative speak on the impact of the program on their businesses.
I've been able to open a shop. I bake cake, I do puff-puff, I do donuts, I do all small chops, even cinnamon rolls. I used to do it, I used to supply, and it has really helped me. As a graduate that I lost my job, I was opportune to partake of this training, and it has been taking me to a long way.
Certificates and empowerment kits were all presented to the graduates as the company hopes to improve on its contribution to job creation and social economic development.
We continue in the world of business. Will Ibong is standing by to give us more. Thank you, Anne. Nigeria's business environment is expected to remain challenging through the next 5 years as the country faces several macroeconomic headwinds. This is according to a forecast by a London-based business and market insight firm, the Economic Intelligence Unit, EIU. In its latest projection, the EIU says although the country's flourishing market opportunities and economic reforms carry the potential for long-term improvements, it will contend with high inflation, an overstretched fiscal position, as well as a collapse in U.S. dollar market size within the period. The EIU notes that Nigeria may not return to the high rate of economic growth it achieved in the first decade of the 21st century, even though all prices are expected to be high enough to lubricate the economy and prevent a recession. Now, Kaduna State Governor Obasani has joined leaders from across the African continent at the ongoing Africa Investment Forum AIF Market Days 2024 in Rabat, Morocco. This year's event features in attendance the President of African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, some state governors from Nigeria, as well as African business leaders and development partners from across the continent. Governor Sani used the opportunity to pursue the strengthening of the partnership in the realization of a world-class agro-industrial zone in Kaduna State, noting the Kaduna government under his leadership is creating a conducive environment via a suite of incentives for investments to thrive. Now it's another win for the domestic stock market as it ends Friday's trading session with a moderate third-day gain within 5 trading sessions this week. Lad Williams has details of the day's highlights.
All right, let's get a sense of how your money performed today. We see what strong trading activity with volume and value higher than the previous trade there, showing investor appetite 0.10%. That's the all-share index up today. Market cap still sitting at 59 trillion. We'll see if 60 trillion hits this December. All right, let's look at the top gainers counter. Golden Guinea Brewers PLC topping the counter again this week with a 9.98% gain. So, this company, a Nigerian company that brews, bottles, and packages a variety of beers. Most of November, this was trading at about 3 naira 70 kobo. So, what's pumping this stock? We'll definitely find out at some point. To losers counter now, we see Eternal Oil is topping the counter at 22 naira 70 kobo. That was a close down 4.62%. So, it's a concluding trading day for the first 5 of December. Festivities are fast approaching, and I hope you make enough profit for a dirty December.
And that's a wrap on business. It's back to you, Anne, for the rest of the news at 10. Thank you, Will. Away from business, here's Simon Pise with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Tens of thousands of people are fleeing Syria's third largest city of Homs in fear that Islamist-led rebels will continue to advance towards the capital Damascus. Syrian rebels say they have taken full control of a second major city after the military withdrew its troops from Hama in another setback for President Bashar al-Assad. Footage here shows former Syrian President Hafez al-Assad's statue being toppled in Hama. Rebels led by the Islamist faction Hayat Tahrir al-Sham have pledged to press on southward to Homs, a crossroads city that links the capital Damascus to the north and Assad's heartland along the coast. Video released on social media is said to show an explosion of the Rustan bridge along the main route to Homs. A Syrian army officer says that Russian bombing along the key M5 highway was to prevent rebels from using it. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol ordered the arrest of his own ruling party's leader when he declared martial law on Tuesday night. The arrest list also included the leader of the main opposition party, as well as 3 opposition lawmakers. The revelation came as the country's political parties held emergency meetings throughout Friday, with MPs planning to bring a vote to impeach Mr. Yoon. French President Emmanuel Macron has said he will name a new prime minister in the coming days after Michel Barnier resigned following a no-confidence vote in Parliament. In a 10-minute address to the nation, he rejected opposition pressure to stand down, vowing to stay in his post fully until the end of the mandate in 2027. He thanked Mr. Barnier for his dedication during his brief term as prime minister and accused the French far-right and hard-left of collaborating in an anti-Republican front to bring down the government. Worshippers have been forced to flee an Australian synagogue after it was set on fire in what the Prime Minister has condemned as an act of hate. Firefighters were called to Melbourne's Adass Israel synagogue, finding the building fully ablaze when they arrived. One person was injured and the fire caused extensive damage.
This was a shocking incident. Should be unequivocally condemned. There's no place in Australia for an outrage such as this. To attack a place of worship is an attack on Australian values. To attack a synagogue is an act of anti-Semitism, is attacking the right that all Australians should have to practice their faith in peace and security.
Was that the remembrance of September 11th? It was. Was it in New York? It was at Ground Zero.
The U.S. Secret Service's acting director has got into a shouting match with Texas Representative Pat Fallon during a hearing. Acting Director Ronald Rowe earned praise from many Republican lawmakers for cooperating with the investigation, but he erupted at Fallon after the congressman questioned Rowe's appearance at a ceremony this year commemorating the anniversary of the September the 11th attacks.
I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center. I was there at Fresh Kills. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you, Congressman. Were you the special agent in charge? To show respect for a Secret Service member that died on 9/11. Oh, that you're trying to be. Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes. Oh, I'm not.
Fallon said he was asking serious questions about whether Rowe was there to provide protection for high-level officials at the ceremony. And a parliamentary session in the Bahamas has been dramatically suspended after an opposition MP threw a ceremonial mace out of the window. Shannon Cartwright, the deputy leader of the opposition, was restrained by police and officials following the incident. Throwing a mace out of a window has a historic significance in the country. In 1965, the leader of the opposition did the same thing in a push for electoral change in an event dubbed Black Tuesday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Sunshine Stars will host Shooting Stars on Saturday in March the 16th of the Nigeria Premier Football League in a highly anticipated Southwest derby at the Remo Star Stadium, Ikene, in Ogun State. Shooting Stars of Ibadan are 7th on the MPFL log with 21 points, while Sunshine Stars are 15th with 17 points. Another game scheduled for tomorrow is between Nasarawa United and Lobby Stars in Lafayette. Then Argentina football star Lionel Messi has been named the 2024 Major League Soccer Most Valuable Player following a campaign in which he captained Inter Miami to their first ever Supporters' Shield as top club in the regular season. In his first full MLS season after joining Miami in July 2023, Messi had 20 goals and 16 assists in 19 matches, while his club set a league record with a 74 points campaign before a stunning first-round elimination from the playoffs. For Messi, the MVP award is yet another accolade in an illustrious career that includes a World Cup winners' medal and a record 8 Ballon d'Or awards as the world's best football player. Then Ruben Amorim admits he's quickly learning about his team at Manchester United and is close to finding the right formula to get the most out of the squad ahead of their English Premier League game against Nottingham Forest. United 13th in the standing thrashed Everton 4-0 in Amorim's first Premier League home game last week, but a much-changed team suffered a 2-0 defeat to Arsenal on Wednesday. But Sports is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The Amnesty International today alleged that nothing less than 10,000 persons have died in the custody of the Nigerian army since the Boko Haram conflict began in the northeast, just as the defense headquarters refuted the claims describing the allegation as spurious. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Good night.